Chief, you ready?
Yes, sir.
We'll call this ESD 1 regular meeting to order for being a rescheduled meeting. That's June 26, 2023. That the record reflect that all commissioners are present. And with that, we'll go. Time is 5:31. With that, we'll go into the pledge and the petition, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to bring business for the districts to the community, and Lord, we just ask that you guide us with all decisions made that honors you. We thank you for this food, and we ask for some relief from the heat. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
That will go into 1.3, public comments. Any public comment for today?
I have something I'd like to read.
Mark, did you have anything that you wanted to go over on the public comments?
Just to remind everybody that just the public speaking and addressing the board is not going to be an interactive process. So, just, allow them to speak, and if you want to impose any reasonable rules, you can.
Is there any time limit or anything like that, Mark?
It's whatever's reasonable unless we post something ahead of time and let the public know what the rules are.
Okay, thank you.
Try to keep it brief.
At this time, we'll have public comments. We're not allowed to answer any questions or anything, so if you identify yourself, you'll have 3 minutes for public comments.
My name is Bradley Musichenko. I'm a citizen of Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, commissioners, other members present, I appreciate you letting me have the time to speak to y'all this evening. I would like to say that I do have a disability. It makes it hard for me to keep within the allotted time. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to go as fast as I can, and I won't drag it on. I know y'all have more business to go over. I stand before you today as a member of the emergency services with two decades experience in many different disciplines. During that time, I worked as an EMT for 911 transfer services. Also, as a highlight of my career, was being able to meet Dr. Redduke, who pioneered the helicopter ambulance service Lifeline. I was lucky enough to work with Texas Children's Unit, known as the Kangaroo Crew. You can spot their ambulance, it's green with a bunch of kid colors, as well as the helicopter's green as well. I also served many different positions in my firefighter role in my department through hazmat operations, working closely with our city and county bomb squad because of many different issues. We had the anthrax scare back when I first started. It was a big deal. We did swiftwater dive rescue, heavy and light rescue, ICS, ropes, and trench and collapse rescue. So I did a lot before I got hurt. We also worked in a department that had an active airport, so we had to learn how to do aircraft targets and rescue for that. I deployed many times with SETRAC and Texas Task Force 1 and 2. I received a mandate for deployment from the governor of Texas in recognition for actions during that deployment. I've deployed to wildland forest fires as well as responded to Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, and Matthew. I've also been involved in 2 mass casualty incidents and as well as SAR and USAR operations throughout the time. I started going towards the communication side in the later part of my career, worked in communications under a mentor, learning emergency communications. And I believe my experience on both ends of the emergency communication system is invaluable. It's totally different in the field, totally different in the office, totally different dynamic on both things. And when you can find someone that knows both of those dynamics, it's a game changer. I've noticed it's a very big game changer. It brings the safety level way higher.
Yeah, about 30 seconds.
Okay. I worked directly with building the ground refurbishing many dispatch centers. I did so. A combination of other people that we worked. Speaking of accreditation, which is I know one thing there are 3 of the dual accredited EMS and fire services in the state of Texas. I was part of both of them.
And expired.
There's one, sorry.
Time has expired.
Okay.
Can you just kind of wrap it up and tell us what it is, I mean, what's,
That's a concern.
The concern was the way there was some just telecommunications is being handled. There's a lot of citizens that are not really happy, and it being an election year, the county commissioners are debating on whether or not to turn this into a county like quite a few others where the board members are elected instead of appointed. I just wanted to reiterate, the experience I had and the incidents that happened. And that's going to go too long into it, but that's basically where it's. If you look at every NIOSH or LMDD report, communications is at the top reasons of why there's a line of duty death for a NIOSH report. So communications is very important due to safety. I take it very seriously. Just because I've seen what can happen. But I believe that there's some things that maybe the ESD did in the beginning, and thinking they were doing good, but as we found out, it may not be the right thing for the department or for the citizens or for the employees as a safety and as a whole. Thank you for giving me additional time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? I can make a short comment. Next we'll welcome Ms. Heisen back. For those that didn't know her, she was here at the beginning, so welcome back.
Thank you, very honored to be back and very excited to see all the changes and all the progress that's been made since I left. Good work.
Thank you. Any other comments? No other comments, we'll go to 2.1, joint members choose report.
Okay, well, you took some of my thunder, I was gonna introduce her to the board, but that's okay, that's perfectly fine, but most of y'all know Ms. Hexie, and we're very happy to have her back. She got in here and hit the ground running, she is just taking off and identifying where we need to go next, and she's doing a great job so far. Okay, so, the joint chiefs report will be a little bit different this time, kind of speed it up a little bit, so to speak. So we're just gonna go over the numbers tonight instead of giving an extended report on some of the happenings, because there were a lot of them this month, so, yeah, I just figured it was kind of hard to pick and choose what would be good to highlight. So anyways, for the month of May, pretty much business as usual, 132 calls. Overlapping was about 8.3% of the time. Hours spent on the incidents was about 99 hours per incident. Total, I'm sorry. So, there were, total incident man hours were about 742. Mutually given this month was 1, for that train fire that we had over in Barstow. And then average response times are sitting still at about 13 minutes and 8 seconds. Of course, those are going to vary from just depending on where the calls that we have in the county are. And we should see improvement on those as we transition into 3 stations in the future. Average turnout times were 82 seconds, so we did come down on that. The battalion chiefs got a hold of last month's report and decided they were going to start working with the crews to try to find ways to shave the time, so that's what they're working on presently. They're doing a great job. PECAS, for the responses by zone, PECAS still by far 103 calls was how many we did. Now keep in mind, it does carry a big area outside of PECAS as well. But this general area does seem to be our biggest call volume producer. Orla came out at 17 calls, Balmaray 12, and outside of the district actually should have been 1. So I'll have to go back and correct that. For our property pre-incident values was $1,753,420. Losses came out to $1,051,220. And property saved, we like to try to track that. All in all was about $702,200 that we were able to save out of those incidents. Still showing very much the same each month on the types of calls that we do. 50%, give or take, being what we do in EMS and auto accidents, rescues, things of that nature, and then the fires and other hazard type incidents take up the rest. So we're still sitting about the same as we do each month. And then just a breakdown of the hours, daily operations are taking up about 41% of our time, incidents about 33%, community outreach 12%, and training about 14%. Training was a little bit lower this month than normal though, so that may fluctuate as we move on, especially once we get established in our new stations. That's all I have for the reports. I did correct the average times from last time. It was simply a decimal point instead of a colon that was kind of messing that up for the average response times. So those should be accurate this time for the totals. And that's it, unless you have any other questions.
Thank you.
All right. And do not, well, yeah, recruiting. So Ms. Leandro is going to present our recruiting staffing presentation. I do have one other thing before you do that. Our battalion chief of training, Wes Simmons, did decide to resign. It was mostly for personal reasons, so he's decided to leave us and move back closer to home. So we are currently going to be looking for a new training battalion chief.
That's not actually where he's been at.
When did he resign?
And it was last week.
When's the last time?
Sorry. It was Monday. Actually, this was the last one?
Yes.
Last one, I'm sorry. I moved quite fast, yes. I moved quite fast.
So,
Well, we'll move to 2.2 presentations regarding emergency services, including status of posted districts, staff role, job descriptions, and review applications.
We have 5 current positions open on ESD 1. We have a assistant fire chief still open. We have been interviewing, so going through that process. We have 4 applicants for that one position. Fire captain, we have 6 vacancies and we have 14 current applications. Fire lieutenants, we have 6 vacancies and we have 21 applications to review for that position. Driver, operator, or engineer, we'll have 12 complete vacancies and we have 19 applications for that. And then we have our firefighters, we have 6 current vacancies and we have 22 applications for that. Those still need to go through the whole RPAT testing. We haven't started the process for those yet. Of course, we've already hired our chief financial officer, logistics director has been hired. We have 1 position for a public safety dispatcher, and then we have our dispatch lieutenant, which that should be that's gonna be 1 on each side, ESD 1, ESD 2, that's not a joint employee. We have 3 openings for that, and we have 2 current applications for that position.
To kind of branch off on that, the assistant chief of fire, we were about to make an offer to one of them. And he apparently took an offer, he sent us an email today saying that he took an offer with another organization. So now I'm looking at the person who was second in line, and we're starting to have discussions with that person. The fire captain and lieutenants and engineers, as you know, I have the battalion chiefs finalizing an assessment center process so that they can come in and actually go through a testing process to help us determine who are the better candidates. Within that, some of these applicants that you see within the fire captain, lieutenant, and engineer are also folks that we currently already have in lower positions and they're wanting to step up, they're wanting to promote to those positions. So they apply as well. Any other questions?
That will move to item 3.1 on the consent agenda, is approve the minutes for May 9th, 2023 regular meeting and May 22nd, 2023 special joint meeting. There's been a motion by Commissioner Riker, second by Commissioner Jackson to approve the minutes for May 9th, 2023 and May 22nd, 2023. Is there any further discussions? Hearing no further discussions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays. Eight point two is the tax assessor collector's report.
Okay, there was a couple things I wanted to point out from those reports. Okay, the first attachment was the 2021 adjusted certified tax appraisal report. And if you go to the second page, there is an approximate total levy, which says equal net taxable times the tax rate. And that there was an error on the budget that this is the number where Tessie, or Ms. Clark, got the figure for the delinquent property taxes. So if you scroll down a little bit, see in black, the tax assessor did a calculation for the approximate total levy. And I believe there was a misunderstanding of what that number meant, but that's the number that was used for the delinquent property taxes, which was that's just the approximate total levy for that year. That we can so that's not the delinquent amount, that was just what the levy was for that year. There was adjustments made, I think the conversation was more in line with that year, the valuations were under assessed, so I think that's where the confusion came from. But that's the number that was pulled for the budget for the 15 million, so there's not 15 million in delinquent property taxes. Just wanted to clear that up. On the next attachment is the report from the tax assessor collector Rosemary Chavarria, and this was as of April. So as of the end of April, there was $24,671,017 distributed to the district, to Reeves County ESD 1. And I also wanted to point out the way the tax collections work, they actually begin in October. So this would have been collected from October through April. So on our income statement, that only reflects the tax collections in the calendar year. So on our income statement where it says property tax received, that would have been just from January through present. So these reports from Rosemary always show what's been collected from October to, through the, April. And I also, think what was happening, we were receiving the money, but these end of month reports were behind. If you scroll down to, let's see, which page is this? It's the second to the last page. Did you scroll down to the second to the last page, David? Okay, let's go one more page. Okay, so this is as of April. You'll notice the number from 2021 that goes in line with that other report, the appraisal district report that was used for the delinquent budget. But you can see for 2019, it's got the original levy and then the adjustments and then the supplements. So that resulted in the adjusted levy. So the adjusted levy for 2019 was 19,450,000. 2020, so it was 20,217,1929. 2021, 16 million. And then you can see the big jump up for 2022. And then the far column shows everything that was collected with late fees, and the column right next to it is uncollected with late fees, and that's 6,604,310. So uncollected. So just to give you a little more insight on what was actually owed.
So to date, I know there's been another adjustment and we've gotten new evaluations, so we got the preliminaries in April, we got finals in May. It's never been presented to us as far as I know, but I know we've got it because the hospital got it, so.
Okay, evaluations?
Yes.
So we've got the preliminary evaluations, and I think the final one comes out in July.
The final ones are out. We already got them, we've had them for over a month. It's about 11 billion in difference. It was 29, it's at 39, or 28 something, and it's at 39,
Yeah, we've
so.
got the preliminary.
They would have never sent it to everybody, they would have sent it to everybody, because I can see the ESDs on there.
I just got it from Chief Lee, I scanned them and I can forward that to the board, and it's at 39 million for the estimated preliminary value.
But when we were presented it was 29, and so we've never been, the board's
Okay.
never been presented
Okay.
the new. And so that needs to be presented to the board because it's $11 billion in difference.
Yes.
We've never seen that. I know I've seen it because I've just seen it from the hospital.
Yeah.
And I can see what the ESD is, because it's on the letter to everybody. So that's why I asked the last meeting, Tessie, if she'd gotten that, and when was it going to be presented? She just said she hadn't received it, but you have, because
Well, we have a
She knows
limit.
it's there.
We don't have the,
it should be the finals.
it says preliminary.
Yeah, it's preliminary estimate of value, and it's as of May 12th, 2023.
But that has never been presented to us, even as preliminary. We've never seen, the board does not know it's $11 billion in difference. I know because I've seen it, but
Yeah.
they don't know.
I think the assumption was that it was, the final was coming, and so.
Yeah, I believe the final, because they have time to contest that, the evaluation, so the final is due to us in July.
I just think it's part of decision-making processes when you know you have an additional 11 billion in evaluations, big chunk. It's not chump change, so
Would you like me to email these out to you?
I think and I just think it needs to probably be presented formally. Maybe on the joint or something.
Sure.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have the.
know they were gonna make an appointment with y'all, chief, I don't know if they reached out to y'all, just,
We did get a phone call.
okay.
So I'll email these out and then we'll also put them on the joint. That was all I just wanted to add because this report shows how much we've received to date. So if you scroll back up to that first page.
And yes, I was gonna get it to the joint, by the way.
So for April, there was 238,805 collected and distributed to the district. And then the attorney fees, that's the fees that the county collects, and then that goes directly to the attorneys that represent the county. And if, this amount always washes with what is on our income statement, it's, there's a line item that, for the attorney's fees. So to date, from October through April, we've received $49,378.07 for penalty and interest.
Thank you. Any questions?
With that, we'll move to action items. 4.1 is the finance director's report.
Okay, the first line item is the bank transaction report that shows all of the checks that were written from May 2nd, or yeah, through May, from May 1st through June 2nd. There was probably there's like 5 or 6 checks that disappeared and had to be reissued. I believe that 4654 was reissued. The one to the attorneys. There was a couple. They were lost in the mail. And we did have one that they actually changed the name on the check, but the bank caught that, so we done stopped him.
Yeah.
And on the next one is the bank reserves monthly totals for ESD 1. I did wanna make a recommendation for the groups to consolidate some of our investments so they were a little bit easier to read and follow on the balance sheet. Text pool prime, which, we actually don't have any money invested in that account, but we do have an account set up so we can use that one. But text pool prime and Texas class have almost the identical interest rates. And then Texas class government and Texas class, or text pool have about the same rates. Text pool's actually been trending a little bit higher than Texas class, but I think it would be a better presentation on the balance sheet and easier to follow if we possibly put all of the general fund reserves in Texas class and possibly the capital reserves in the text pool prime to capture the higher interest rates, but then it would be a little bit clearer presentation. So you didn't have to do, you could just look in one place to see how much you had for each reserve, because right now it's broken out between tax pool, Texas class, and Texas class government. But I would just suggest so it would be a little bit better presentation and easier to follow, and then we could capture that interest rate. Because right now there's a little bit of duplication because the general fund reserves or general fund and reserves are basically the same thing. So I would recommend doing a little bit of consolidation to clean up that a little bit, and make it easier to follow.
Would it look like this, would it look different?
We can make it look similar, but instead of, we could do it more vertical, we could do West Texas National Bank, what we have in there, which is right now that currently there's, as of the end of April, there was 10,460,208. And actually that's probably, that amount is our operating budget and also the money that's being drawn out for capital improvements right now, or for the CapEx budget. So it's not really broke out because we don't have a true capital CapEx fund set up. So basically what's.
Is that something you would recommend setting up or?
Yes, I would recommend setting up. But this is one of the main reasons why the districts moved to the government fund accounting software. So we could actually break it out, have the general fund, and then have a capital CapEx or capital projects fund, and then also a debt service fund.
That does sound cleaner, maybe, and one of the next week, you could just present it and we can just go in that direction, eliminate all this unnecessary.
Okay. Yeah, it just would be, since they're almost identical rates between Texas Pool Prime and Texas Class, I was just recommending that we put all of the general fund reserves in one, and then put all the capital fund reserves in the other, and then put the debt service in Texas Class government. Something like that, that would be a little bit better, easier, a lot easier to follow. If we go down to the balance sheet, I'll show you the way the presentation looks currently. And it would just be a lot easier for all of you to follow, so we can just look in one place and know exactly how much we have at all times without having to add it up between the three different places. Okay. And all of these are the bank statement registered. These all match what the other report said, but these are the bank reconciliation reports that are generated from Encode. These are not the actual statements from Texas or Texas Class. These are system generated reports. So currently we would, this would eliminate some of these bank reconciliations. Instead of having, I think there's 11 bank statements, you would just have.
Keeping in mind, she's basically presenting what was already on with this before she was actually hired, so that she's gonna make it different.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, we can go through each one, but
We don't have to.
it was kind of a little bit redundant. Okay, and then there's another check report, sort of the same as the transaction report, but it's on down. Did any of you have any questions on any of the transactions? So, and the investment report was basically, that's kind of a repeat of the other report, so. you look at the investment report, we can. But that was short and that.
On the income statement, did you find any issues or discrepancies there?
Did you wanna do the balance sheet first? Or-
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know which one you were on.
That's okay, we'll go to the balance sheet first. Balance sheet.
4A.
for
It's you. No, scroll down, sorry.
sorry,
You were right on it, on it.
Yeah.
scroll down,
All the
yeah,
way down.
down a little bit. Okay,
For balance sheet.
okay. So this is the part I was talking about consolidating, so where, where there's multiple lines for Texas class. And we could consolidate, for all of Texas class would be just for general fund reserves, and then Texas pool prime, you could do that one for capital reserves. And then another one for the debt service, but, scroll up a little bit. Okay, we go down just a little bit. There is an error on the pension for the deferred outflows for the pension, that should actually be a liability, that's our unfunded liability for TCDRS. For TCDRS, the way our contributions are working now, we're doing catch-up, so our rates are a little bit higher, the employee shares at 7%. And I believe the employer share is around 11.5, that's because of that unfunded liability. The way it works right now, they calculate or they do an estimation of how much we need to have in our retirement pool to cover. They do an estimation based on age and how close you are to retirement. So they're estimating that we're about $55,000 short for ESD one. And in order to get the rates down closer to the 7% for the match, we would need to take care of that unfunded liability.
So what is the plan to catch up?
Yeah, we can, I was gonna get a hold of TCDRS and see if they have an estimate, but usually they come out with their final estimate in October. But we could get an estimate for the budget, and then when they have their actuaries do their final or their annual reevaluation, we can look at that.
Do we know why we're behind?
Because we're new, because we're a relatively new district. So, like for example, if we had, we started up, we had more people closer to retirement. We would have, I guess, to make our pool a little bit better, we'd have to hire a lot more younger employees, but, just to get into the mix, but we're behind because of just the timing of when we bring employees on and how close they are to retirement.
Some of our employees are pretty young.
Yeah.
Not all.
Not all.
A lot of them are close, they're real close.
And the other factor that affected it was that interest rates were really low too, so that'll probably be factored into our next evaluation. This tax pool also relies on interest to increase the pools. And scroll down a little bit, or not too far, I wanted the prepayments for those apparatuses, all of those have been received, so those will need to be reclassified, to just a regular asset. But while labor as a prepayment is kind of like construction in progress, they don't depreciate until they go into service, but all those are in service now. We do have a couple, so under that apparatus and command vehicles, there is 2 more apparatuses that are on prepayment, those are broken out. So, we're glad we are working on that, or breaking that out a little bit more so you guys can see. The CIP, like in front of the stations, that all stands for construction in progress. So those are all the balances to date. of what we paid towards those stations. So, ESD, if you look at ESD 1's balance sheet and ESD 2's balance sheet, they should pretty much match. The only one that doesn't match right now is headquarters, because the retainage is actually booked on the ESD 1 side, and when that gets paid out, it'll balance out. But as far as the stations go, all of the, these should mirror ESD 1, or ESD 2. Any of you have any questions on any of those? You scroll down a little bit. Okay. So this deferred inflow of resources, this is the contra account to the account, property tax receivables, which, this one, so this is just what you need to put on the balance sheet to, as an offset. And it says 33,700,102.58. These numbers have not been adjusted since the beginning of the year. So if you scroll up to the top, I'm gonna show you one. Yeah, towards the top. So, okay. There's a couple lines that need to be adjusted where it says property tax receivable, current and delinquent. That's the numbers I was talking about that need to be adjusted because we've received around $24 million in current property taxes. And I'm not sure how that came over, but there's that 1.8, so that's also another adjustment that needs to be receivable from the taxing authority, so that's a figure on that. And we got, I just wanted to point out, so that is a little, that part's overstated, so we'll get that corrected. So there should be monthly adjustments to the accounts receivable. Okay. You have more questions on the balance sheet? You have one. Do we want to go to the income statement?
Yes, please.
Okay. So going to the first line, you'll see that through the end of May 31st, we have received 21,969,004.8. And that's on the, I always wanted to point out for the calendar year, that's since January. So that this report is always going to differ from the county. And since the districts adopted the fiscal year, the calendar year is their fiscal year, it's always going to be different because of the property taxes. So we always have to recognize the revenues when they are realized and as soon as we get them, so we had in the budget, the total budget was 24,396,184. And then that 15 million, that was the number I pointed out, that came from the estimated levy for 2020. So penalty interest is all pretty good. I'll have to do a budget amendment for the delinquent property taxes and then also for the interest for it to get a little bit closer on those numbers. So let's go down a little bit. A lot of the wages in Blue Cross Blue Shield, a lot of those were estimated for being estimated to show what the district would look like at being fully staffed. And we need to, we're gonna look at, we'll make some recommendations on prorating what the actuals are going to be for this year. It's obvious here, well, the stations won't be staffed until they're completed. And the TCDRS batch, well, but that might have been a timing issue when they ran the report when the TCDRS employee match was paid out to TCDRS. And same with the federal income tax. So that might have just been a timing issue of when they paid it out.
So those two items that you just talked about, there weren't originally budgeted anything for.
Yeah, there shouldn't be anything budgeted for the federal income tax or TCDRS.
So what
To
what
the
is,
employee share. So, but it doesn't look like there was anything in the budget or according to this sheet. Yeah, I'm not sure on the health insurance stipend that was year to date, so I'm not sure if that was, in the initial budget, when Chief Garcia was here, he did receive a health insurance stipend that first year that he was here, so I'm not sure if that was misclassified or, put in the wrong spot, or if that's for the health savings account. If that was budgeted.
I don't know.
Okay. So we can look into it.
After the fact, didn't it?
I don't think we did the whole savings again.
And we did the health savings, we gave them the $500 deposit, the initial $500 and then just one time.
But it was, I think this was after we had already approved the budget, so that's why, if I'm not mistaken.
But to do a budget amendment, but there's only 5 employees who are participating in the health savings. But that initial line item was from Chief Garcia. So we could either create a new account line or we can rename that one. So salaries was budgeted at $5,219,863, but that was I'm assuming that was an estimation for all, being fully staffed at all stations. For station 1, 2, 3 in the logistics facility. So we're well under budget for those, so I would recommend doing an amendment on that now, based on a proration of what we expect the wages to be for the remainder of the year, based on when we can take occupancy.
overtime, on the overtime, what is it that you're using the overtime? As far as,
Okay, the overtime, there's a certain, with the 4896. I can actually pull that
So
spreadsheet
you
up.
have the scheduled and unscheduled. The scheduled is built into the 4896 schedule, to meet the 7K rule for overtime, federal overtime. The unscheduled is used for everything from emergency recalls on that, which is not too often, but we do get them every now and then. So the training fire, for instance, when there's a large incident, and we know we're gonna be out there for an extended time, sometimes we'll bring personnel in to cover until that clears up. And then, sometimes on community events, the standbys, fireworks standbys, things like that. That's what we use it for.
Yeah, but you get the 4896 or the 4896 coverage. Each one of the fire personnel will have 342 hours of scheduled overtime.
So would
To
they go
meet
on,
that schedule.
would they go on a regular overtime to have those two budgets?
The regular overtime with the fire, they don't get,
You're talking about like the unscheduled overtime, is that what you're talking about for?
Oh, so it already has the different.
Yeah, we do track it, I track every single time we do an overtime, we have a spreadsheet that we're tracking, how we did it, how long it was. So that if we ever have questions on what is causing all this, we can go back and find out.
so what is the unscheduled overtime?
Unscheduled is,
Incident that lasts for longer than imagined.
but
yeah, that's your, if you have a major incident. If we have mandatory training that we have to send them through that
So
you
the,
just can't.
But-
you know.
so the 60,000 is basically just on the schedule.
Yes,
That's 60 is on the schedule.
that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, but this,
Keep it
there
in
is
mind,
some,
we didn't hire all the employees either, so, yeah, there is, like she said, so.
but there is some discrepancy in the way they were, doing the payroll.
Yeah.
Cause actually a lot, the split between unscheduled and scheduled was, not, was not necessarily tracked as well as it should have been. So it looked like they were doing an average on what was scheduled and what wasn't scheduled. So there actually should have been a lot more that is under the scheduled instead of unscheduled. Because on the long weeks or the, for example, if, they worked 4 days, the fire personnel were scheduled to work 4 days in the 2-week period. They would have 106 at regular hours and 38 at, overtime. And then the short weeks, they had 96, around 96 hours scheduled.
And this was because of the average pay.
Yes. That's what they were doing, was averaging 6 hours of scheduled and 6 hours of unscheduled. And most of those were actually, it should have been all scheduled overtime.
So that's part of the reason why I want to bring back to you, that we're going to go back to essentially not, what do you call it?
Averaging.
Not averaging it, so it would be kind of a long check, short check, long check. So within personal budgeting, they'll have to become accustomed to that. The vast majority of fire departments in the nation work that way. Not so much EMS, but fire departments too, because they fall under that 7K rule. The other thing that we're looking at is, do we want to continue with the 7K rule to make the ESDs even? So we're still not looking at that as well. Where they work a 40-hour work week
Yeah, because right now,
with overtime beyond that. So we're trying to work those things out, but we do know that there's an issue with this, so we're trying to fix that. We actually figured that out before she came in, but she's taken off, so.
because right now, the way the ESD 1 wages are, they're set up to match ESD 2's pretty much. Like we have an ESD 1 basic employee coming in at 60,000, ESD 2 coming in at 60,000. Their base hourly wage is set up to, when they, at the end of the year, and if they meet all of their 4896 schedules, that it's the same. But what that does is put an ESD 1 employee with their base rate would be $20.07 approximately, and an EMS employee would come in at $17.90. So if they both just work their schedules, they would make the same amount. But that's the way it was initially set up. We'll bring you some more of the evaluation of wages in your budget workshop. So the volunteer stipends, nothing has been paid out, I believe, are you guys moving to a year-end, an annual fee? Can you scroll down a little bit, David? in the third line down where it says the property tax delinquent attorney's fees. That's the amount that I was talking about, that should always match the revenues at the top, it should be a wash. Okay, we just.
Legal services, that where our legal attorneys are, under that, on the top, very top, legal services, that, does that include the, what they do?
Yes, that's,
Okay, anything?
sorry. Okay, the budget report, and that was the other thing, there was another thing I wanted to bring up, was the budget report and the income statement are basically the same thing. So I wanted you all to look at which report you would prefer. We did a side by side for the ESD two meeting. Scroll down, David, I think they were right next to each other, the income statement and then there's the budget report.
6B.
Letter report.
Yeah, that budget report.
And 6B.
ESD two is opting to go with the budget report. And the reason being is the remaining is shown in percentage rather than the balance. Of course, we can always have them set up, but they like to quickly get through.
So they're almost identical reports, there's just a few minor differences, except for the budget report shows the percentage remaining in the.
I think I'd rather
I think
see the
I do.
budget,
Yeah.
just because it can tell you where you are in your percentage.
Right.
You're over, under, it helps you plan for next year. And also helps you plan, like if you're way over to ask questions. Can't really tell from the income statement where you're at.
Is that something we need to vote on, or?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Just,
so.
yeah, we're just, what we're gonna show you, you know, if you ever get to a point where you're like, well, I wanna see the income statement, all you have to do is tell us what pull it up.
Well, it can still be listed on there, you just don't necessarily have to go over it. I mean, it could be there for your viewing, but I mean, if you wanna go through just a list of, you know, I think we don't have to go through every item on there because you'll be here all night, just go through the few pertinent reports that are on there, but I mean, you can still leave them listed, so.
Like, you can have them attachment as we review the records, like over the weekend. If you have any questions, that will bring it up.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. We grouped the main ones together at the beginning, and then she had the other reports that you may find useful, the prior year comparison. Was there any other ones that you wanted to look at or go over?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of a motion?
Yeah, to approve them. This is the interest report, city price report. As presented, corrections that were mentioned.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Riker, second by Commissioner Flores, to approve the business manager's business report as presented with the set corrections as mentioned. Any further discussions? Hearing no further discussions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays. Thank you. 4.2 is district purchase orders. One is the Knox Key defenders, and number 2 is the structure elements.
Okay, Commissioners, for the Knox the Knox purchase order that we have here is for 5 key defenders, which will go into our command vehicles. So we started placing them into our fire trucks, but they also need to be on the command vehicles in case they show up beforehand. These key defenders are a little bit smaller and able to fit into the command vehicles better than the larger Key Secure 6s. Other than that, functionality is relatively the same. We also would like to get a Knox dock, 8600 key programmer. That's so that they can program keys straight from the desk if they want to, as well as recharges the keys. Every so often the keys have to be recharged, and sometimes if they sit for a long time, putting them in the key secures will not recharge them. So that's essentially all that is. It's just going into the command vehicles. We just never have gotten to the point where we can do this.
Is it budgeted, Chief?
Yes, it is.
You know, we budgeted for?
It's under the equipment, I believe it's 6,600. Can you look that up?
150,000.
Equipment under 50,000.
Okay.
Where are we at that budget? Are we one below it?
Okay, we can bring that back up real quick. That was under fleet maintenance equipment tool, under 50,000. So we're at 78% of the budget. The budget was for 45,000, there's only been 9,925. So there's 78% of the budget remaining.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Rosalie, we're gonna ask you the same question in there.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Riker to approve the purchase for the new Knox Key defenders as presented. Any further discussion? There are no further discussions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays. Thank you.
David, if you'll pull this up, there you go.
And this one was under the PPE, personal protective equipment here. 6904. It was $250,000 and with 100.
Yeah, this is kind of a thorn in our side right now. We originally started off with a different brand of fire helmets. Over time, they have just been cracking. And we've been sending them back to the manufacturers, waiting forever to get them, but we get new shells because of the cracking, and there just doesn't seem to be any solution to this. They just keep sending us shells and then they keep cracking. So the battalion chiefs have asked if we can switch to a different brand. This is a brand that was suggested to us by one of the vendors that we use. In fact, it's the same one, and should be a lighter weight helmet. at least from our research, we have not found where they're having any issues with these, like these others. So we wanted to see if we could go to this, brand. We're down to, I can't remember how many, but not very many left that are already cracked, so we need to replace them as it is anyways. And then the rest would be the orders that we need for the incoming personnel as well. So
Have you guys like order one, like the sample it and look at it and try one out and see?
we did, yeah. And again, this has just been a thing over time. I don't know if it's this West Texas heat either. I have no clue. Never seen anything like it before. They just start cracking. And of course, during our inspections, once we see a crack, we're supposed to take it out of service. So,
And what was the other brand?
I knew you were gonna ask that. I can call Mike Parker.
Well, Mr. Parent is familiar with this brand, he said it was really good.
It's kind of how it works.
When you were in the fire.
The other benefit to this particular van is throwing in the glow barrier hoods as well, the Nomex hoods for free, so that was a plus to it. The other issue with these other helmets was that they have a slide down goggle that comes out of them, constantly breaking, and they just fall out, and we'll put on constantly breaking. We constantly have to take them out of service to fix them, so, just been a nightmare. I'll make the motion to approve.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Parent, second by Commissioner Jackson to approve structural firefighting helmets as presented. Any further discussions? Hearing no further discussions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays, okay. And these 58 will cover all the firefighters right now,
Currently, yes,
and you would have some extra.
yes.
You anticipate for the next budget to add some more?
We'll have to go back and look at it, but I don't, right off the top of the head, I think so.
4.3 is consider an authorized submission of grant application.
That was a placeholder, commissioners, so it was for a oxy deal, actually, they didn't put it on there. Okay. Yeah, so that was a placeholder, we'll have to bring it back to you. There was a joint application, that maybe what I didn't submit.
4.4 is real estate matters, including discussion taken into action in connection with the housing opportunities for district employees and approved proposals from AGC and for project management support, services for housing project purchases and improvements.
Okay, this is the proposal that Luke had set up for the housing project that he's working on with us. This is the fee that he was saying was going to take, the $23,000 obviously being what he believes is per month based on the duration of the current project. So, ESD 2 did approve it. This was not something he wanted to wait until the joint meeting on July 24th, so we asked if we could bring it to the individual meetings. If you have any questions, I can call him.
Is that coming out of the capital, I mean, is this coming out of the construction project money or?
So we discussed it.
This is,
Right.
It'd be part of the construction project, it should be.
What is this for again?
The housing,
The housing,
which
looking at the builders, finding houses.
Well, that was like people like, you got that.
No, that wasn't.
not in capitalized,
Somewhere.
it may in your construction.
David, can you go up a little bit?
It's not capital, it's additional services based off of the length of the project. It still would go in your, it could come out of your contingency, owner's contingency. or kick them out of your construction contingency because of the delay. This is due to the delay of the construction.
He promised. He promised.
I would like to go into the executive session and discuss this matter a little bit more farther. If we can just continue with and then come back and go to the executive. Next, is that okay with the commissioner? We'll go to 4.5, is to discuss necessary actions for incoming chief financial officer.
Okay, Commissioners, these are the bank accounts, it's just authorizing her to have access to the bank accounts, either or things like that. It's basically moving Tessie off and moving her onto it.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Riker, second by Commissioner Flores, to approve authorizing the necessary actions to add Ms. Heisler to the bank accounts, any other documents as presented in this line item. Any further discussions? Hearing no further discussions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays?
Ready, who did the second?
No. Commissioner Flores. Item 5, attorney report.
Good evening, everybody. First, we had to have the meeting tonight, and we didn't have a standing meeting already. Not a lot to report, just kind of go back to what Yvette was talking about earlier in the meeting, just generally about the budget, just reminding guys that if we need to at least start considering the budget for next year, because the certified will come out relatively soon, and we'll have to set the tax rate, before. So, just something to consider after, the IT is working on that already, but, just keep it in the back of your mind. Other than that, I think the other things that we need to discuss, we'll discuss in the executive session.
This doesn't need a signature.
Yeah, I don't believe,
There's one out that doesn't.
yeah, that one doesn't need a signature yet. Tessie had to add me before we can take her off and we'll get any necessary. And then West Texas National Bank just did that letter and the minutes.
Freddie, this is Carla. Before you guys moved on, I just had a quick question. I couldn't quite hear what Keith said about the grant application.
It was all placeholder.
Yes, it was just a placeholder,
But did
So
you
there's
have
nothing to
something
present.
come back next time?
it might be on the adjournment.
There's something
Agenda
from the
meeting.
majority, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
On this one, is there just four of us? Just
Yeah. President and the secretary, and then one of them, the other one was to take, there was two parts of it. In order to take someone off of it, but people that own it.
for the second picture, there it's up. Take it.
Here. Answer.
There it's up. Gotta take it to the bottom.
Yeah, well,
Item 6 is discuss personnel matters. Is there any personnel matters?
Yes,
Executive? So at this time, we'll move into executive session. Time will be 6:45 PM. We start all recordings. We'll go under the Texas Government Code to discuss real property matters as allowed by 551.072. discuss personnel matters pursuant to 551.074, and legal advice from attorneys pursuant to 551.071, all under the Texas Government Code.